The Blokebusters podcast is a proud member of the Pod Bros Network, where you can find us as well as other excellent podcasts such as Sarcasm City, Worst Millennials, and Late Night Gamers at podbros.com. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy another episode of the Blokebusters podcast.
Oh, my name's Martin Raven. I'm a canny gone man and a roving young fella I have been. So be easy and free when you're drinking with me. I'm a man you don't meet every day. I have acres of land, I have men at command, I have always a shilling to spare. So be easy and free when you're drinking with me. I'm a man you don't meet every day.
Welcome to episode 112 of Blokebusters. I'm Paul, and today we have ourselves a repeat guest. This is someone that we had on quite a while ago to talk about a previous film of his called Beach Pillows, and now he's back to talk about his newest film, Covadonga, and it is, of course, Mr. Sean Hartofilis. How you doing, sir?
I'm well. How you doing, Paul? Thanks for having me.
That's right. I'm doing quite well. So yeah, it was kind of an out of the blue type thing. You just sent an email to us, and it was like, hey, that would be great to have you back on. So thanks for putting yourself back on our radar, as it were.
My pleasure.
All right. To start with, I think probably, I don't know, how do you feel about it personally? Would you like this to feature spoilers, or would you rather we kind of dance around that?
That's a great question. I think if we can avoid spoiler, we can like gracefully talk about as much as you'd like to talk about, but I think yes, avoid spoilers. I've obviously shown in the kind of trailers and the music videos in the trailer and the music videos that we have a boy captive, and I've told the plot of the movie to people, but just in terms of, I guess, turns and what ultimately happens, we can be kind of graceful about it, tactful, but not reveal anything that you feel like you wouldn't have known
beforehand.
Yes, beforehand. Yeah, I mean, yeah. But like I said, I kind of the plot has been revealed and stuff like that. So yeah, I think we can just talk, and I can pull it back if I feel like we need to.
All right, sure. Well, for those listening in that have never heard of this particular film, what is this film about?
Well, it may be. Yeah, it's not out yet, so but I'm hopefully making people aware of it here. It's about. See, it's funny because I figured you would ask that, and of course I answer that quite a bit. But and I'd be happy to answer that. But I'm very curious to hear what you would say.
What I would say this film. Okay. Well, again, without going too much into the ending of it, because I feel that that's where a lot of the real meaning of the film kind of lands. But I think this film, at least what I took away from it, is almost an attempt at redemption. Kind of like it. Again, I can't really explain that too much without spoiling it, but
okay. In terms of like the I kind of figured you'd want me to talk about the plot or something.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, the general plot of the film.
How about should I pick it up?
Sure, go ahead.
Now I feel like I'm quizzing you or something.
Yes.
So yeah, it's about a widower at a lake house who's mourning his wife who's passed, and we learn it was violently, and he's kind of just playing guitar and behaving in odd ways, and we come to discover that again, this is all kind of revealed in a certain way, but anyway, a young couple trespasses on his property one night and steals his canoe and takes it for a ride. And he observes this from his deck, and only the boy returns to shore, and he reacts, and that's kind of the and the movie kind of takes off and unfolds from there.
Yeah.
So we're left to, so the kind of I think the questions that it's posing from a narrative perspective are, is what's happened here, and is this our subject's kind of tragic past influencing his perspective on the world, or is there a crime really? Has a crime been committed, and are his actions just? And regardless, kind of what does it all mean with respect to the themes of the movie, which are some of those. But anyway, that's probably enough.
Yeah. All right. So, yeah, I'll start out by saying that this is a rather unique film. It's very interesting because as you say, you've released some of the music and a little bit clips here and there on Twitter and social media, and I saw that and I was like, oh, well, that's interesting. And then I started watching the film, and I was just continuing to watch it and just thinking that I've not really seen too many films with the same kind of pacing and like some of the choices that this film made. So it was very cool to get something different from something you see every single day coming out of Hollywood.
Oh, well, I appreciate all that. I think that's willful, but it's really just kind of making it what it feels like it should be, and not trying to make it like other things. But that's no, I appreciate it, and I was kind of aware when I was conceiving it and ultimately putting it together that there were a lot of parts that might be considered disparate, or, like unrelated, or genre mixing. It would be like kind of a way to put it, that in film terms. And but ultimately, I mean, I really enjoy seeing because you've got the music, you've got the kind of thriller aspects, you've got kind of this personal drama, kind of little bits of horror, and just like also dancing, like musical aspects, and some comedy, I guess. But that wasn't like trying to make everything a different thing. It was just all things that I felt were true and interesting to this story, and that we could bring to it to enrich it. And but also, like, I like seeing live musical performances of any sort. And like some of my favorite movies, like whether it's a concert film like The Last Waltz, or anything with music in it, but something like Rio Bravo has about 2/3 through the movie they play 2 consecutive songs live, like Dean Martin and God, I'm forgetting the young beautiful kid in it, but hopefully maybe it'll come to me. But anyway, it's so I just always liked that, so wasn't kind of repelled by the instinct. And also it's helpful because the character is solitary, and it helps to kind of communicate his perspective. And yeah, I just I like that part of it. I felt like it filled out the story without having him to talk about like what's happening in the movie. You don't necessarily have to talk about what you're seeing. And also, so yeah, and then the stuff with the moth and all that. But I'll let you pick it up.
No, yes, I was going to say that, as you said, you had a very solitary character, and the only other way that you really could get across how he's feeling and what he's thinking would be to almost like, say, Memento, where you get a lot of Guy Pearce talking to himself.
Yeah.
And you hear the inside of his
Voice
head.
over,
And that's become a real trope at this point. So it was kind of nice to see, rather than getting that, he's just got this guy who's singing a song that might either might reflect what he is thinking at that moment, or he's singing a song trying to get over what he's thinking or get past something. So
I think that's a good way to put it.
Yeah,
And without being a musical, which I love. I have no problem with musicals. There's, I've enjoyed many, but it's just a guy who is either a songwriter, but is somebody who sits around and plays guitar and sings.
So I guess the first question that I had after I watched it was, what gave you the idea for this film?
I think it's funny because there are different. There's like the form and kind of the setting was a big inspiration, and kind of wanting to make something quickly and something where I didn't need to get a whole bunch of money and a whole bunch of crew and kind of locations, and something where I could, so something where I can and I, was inspired by just loving a lot of movies where there's like a central location that kind of provides a lot of ultimately visual variety and different feeling, but it forces you to be more creative. Basically, you're giving yourself more limitations in order to kind of be completely unbound. So that was the instinct. That was kind of the reason to do it, and then the story, which kind of came at just immediately thereafter, or I had been bubbling up. I kind of thought about it on a drive back from my in-laws' house with my wife and just our son Finn at the time. We've had another one since, but I just thought up what I guess Hitchcock would call the scenario, and then wrote it in like a week or two, and I wrote the songs into it. And these are songs I've been kind of writing leading up to conceiving the film, and just like not, I don't perform in front of people. I've only ever played in front of like my family or like my wedding or something. So, but now I've been playing more and more, and like, when we show the movie, I've played and stuff. And so so I wrote those into it because I'm like, okay, this is what I was kind of making them for. Like they just spoke to the text, or the subtext, and then and I kind of knew, okay, if I do that, then I have to be the lead, because I write and play these things, so it's you're not going to get somebody to learn them or something. So then, but that also helped because you don't have to be directing someone or like convincing them to do. There's a lot of physical stuff in the movie, and just uncomfortable kind of. I mean, we had to work fast and long hours, and there's just we're in the elements to a certain extent. So so that all was a reason to do it. To play the lead. I think I'm kind of answering questions that haven't even been asked. But so where are we here? What am I even talking about?
I was going to ask at some point about you choosing to play the lead and what led into that, and obviously you already answered that. But was there ever any point where you were considering other people to play the lead, or was it, as you figured out the songs would go in, you were like, well, it really is only I could do this as it is in my head?
Yeah, I was painting myself into a corner, I think, in that way. And I was, but I was also, I was at the time what I also, thank you, because I also wanted to mention writing my own songs, but also listening to a lot of Irish folk music, and specifically like Luke Kelly and a lot of Pogues and Shane MacGowan, but just a ton of Irish music. And that kind of, I think that ultimately inspiring me because then I'm playing these songs, I'm playing them for my family, and ultimately kind of inspiring me who is Irish, to pour all that into the movie, and to like, to kind of speak up Not, not that the character is me, as is quite obvious if you've seen the movie, but just to express myself and put myself out there and kind of do everything that I may have been afraid to do with the movie was another reason to do it. Like, okay, so not rely on a bunch of dialogue, which Beach Pillows and like the other things I've made are dialogue heavy and I think comedic leaning, even though hopefully, it has a lot of emotion and stuff. So to have something where I couldn't rely on the dialogue, I, put myself out there performing music and kind of doing all these physical things, emotional things, and kind of tell a story visually, which I always have, intended to do, and certainly had an emphasis on with Beach Pillows, but really just make it, without words or really information informing the audience's understanding of what's going on. You're just kind of letting something unfold, or orchestrating something that's keeping the audience active. You know what I mean? Like part. So it was just like it was a challenge, but it seemed like a challenge kind of going in, and that was kind of what I was following, but ultimately it felt right. It felt like I was glad to have made this as my second movie, and I'm excited to get it out there.
Yeah, well, I was going to ask as well. Obviously, it's a very different film from Beach Pillows, both in tone and just the way you get some of the stuff across. So I was wondering if any of your previous filmmaking experience helped you make decisions on this film, or did it come down to a completely different set of scenarios that you had to learn what you were going to do on the day or in the editing bay?
That's a good question. I think, I think you're right. It's very different than Beach Pillows, and but also I feel like, I feel like it's you can tell the same person made them. So I think like if there's just it's different setting, different circumstance, different characters, different things happening to different people, but really both, the approaches were both, in terms of the performances, just trying to make the text or whatever was happening as real as possible, and kind of letting it speak for itself in a sense. Did anything inform me? Yes, everything about the Beach Pillows experience, everything about every filmmaking experience I had leading up to Beach Pillows, informed that, and that informed this in a big way. Beach Pillows, like I said, I'm completely proud of it. I think I like them as a 1-2 punch, as weird as it is, and my third one's like a bigger turn than 1 to 2, but I think that yes, it informed me. Just it made me want to go smaller. It kind of made me, I felt like we made Beach Pillows on a small, efficient budget and schedule, and it got a ton of production value and everything I wanted out of the movie aesthetically and in terms of the scale. Yeah. But I was like, a lot of these elements aren't necessarily letting you be more creative. They're just creating they're almost weighing the production down. And again, this was a $400,000 movie, Beach Pillows. It wasn't like multi-millions of dollars. Yeah. Hopefully, I think it looks like, I hold it up to any, movie of its ilk in terms of just, I didn't compromise what I was trying to show. But I just, like Kubrick, you hear about, he'd have like 10 people on set unless it was a big battle scene. So if you can work intimately, I think you can be a little more unencumbered and just faster. And again, I love everybody I worked with on Beach Pillows, and some of them I was lucky to work with again. But yeah, just different movie, different model, whatever. And so I learned, and just, I mean, I like, I visually, and kind of the instincts on how to show things and how to, where the camera should go. That kind of, it didn't feel like my perspective changed, but of course you're telling a different story and trying to do different things to the audience. So the Beach Pillows, I shot like 25 millimeter the whole movie. I think I had, one thing with a zoom lens, and then at the end we had a 32, but it was like, wide lens and kind of, a lot of movement, but you have coverage of scenes because there's dialogue with two characters. So as much as I like to do things in long takes and stuff like that, you have to do a certain amount of coverage. This was basically shot, and that too, pre-visualized and kind of, how the pieces are going to fit when you cut it together. But this just more spare in that approach, I would say. And just, I knew then, okay, what I learned from Beach Pillows is always do what you want to do. Don't let anybody deter you because like things are done a certain way or this will happen here, especially if you're editing it, like, and even ultimately distributing it. You're like, why am I going to make just kind of, obviously you want fresh eyes and you don't want to just put something out there that nobody's seen or nobody understands. Yeah. But you kind of want to give it your honest voice, like let what you're trying to do shine through. And I didn't have to compromise in any significant ways on Beach Pillows or really, any ways to speak of. But it's just like what you tell yourself. It's just like, no, follow through. You're doing everything for a reason. And yeah, when you end up taking now when you physically can't do something, or because of time, money, whatever, then you can be creative. And that's what filmmaking is. It's like being creative by solving problems, by being creative. Even telling a story, that's what that is. You're getting to the end, you're solving problems the whole time. But, so anyway, those were some of the lessons I brought from that one to this one. But yeah, working with actors, kind of being inspired by my actors on Beach Pillows and how giving of themselves they were and demanding emotionally, but then coming to appreciate it a lot more. And I've acted before, but never anything with this range. So it's very demanding work. It asks a lot of you, and it takes a lot out of you.
Yeah, I'm sure there are some very interesting scenes, again, especially towards the end, where it's clear you're balancing a lot and really trying to get certain emotions across that I imagine if they took more than a couple of takes would really start to drain you. So yes, I feel like they came across quite well.
Oh, thank you very much. No, I'm really interested to hear everything that you think. But yeah, just I feel like you're trying, like, yeah. So his talking to his wife and kind of ultimately considering whether or not what he's doing is right. And I think we're showing somebody that's doing really bad things, potentially like as bad as it gets, but also just questionable on a lot of levels regardless. And I tried to, I don't know how that comes across to people, but I tried to play it as somebody that you could understand. Something very bad happened to him, and his world and the way he sees it and reacts to it is colored by that. That's what the movie's exploring, from a historical perspective, given the title, but also in this very personal way.
And I will say, jumping back to something you mentioned a little earlier, you brought up both Kubrick and Hitchcock when you were talking about it, and I do feel like, much like Beach Pillows felt to me to have a touch of Wes Anderson around it, I feel like this one kind of has a little bit of both your Kubrick and your Hitchcock in it. You have a lot of long takes and long shots and not wanting to cut away. So I assume you had several just one take scenes that you were shooting, and then maybe in the end you didn't edit it at all because it just felt best left that way. And so I was just thinking that with you saying that, it pops in my head, like, of course, like, you're clearly inspired by these filmmakers. So but as you say, you can tell that they were both made by the same person. So it's
oh, good. Yeah, I mean, well, that's the thing. Like, Wes Anderson's inspired by Kubrick and Hitchcock, and as is Scorsese, and it's kind of like, it's certainly and those are some of my favorite filmmakers. But this one, but in addition to them, like Charlie Chaplin was a big influence on the long takes, and of course Chaplin was a huge influence on Kubrick. So it's kind of getting the sense of what you like seeing, and the thing with long takes is cutting, of course, has many facilities, is useful and artistic and purposeful, but also audiences, whether consciously or not, that something happened and changed, and you lose the sense of temporal, of something happening. So, or like even on a gut level. So when you don't cut, it kind of makes everything just build inside of the audience and kind of inside of the scene, because, it's like on a tightrope. It's a little, it has aspects of theater, of course, but it's just, I think humans, and especially now, audiences are so savvy. Everybody is a filmmaker on their phones and stuff. You're kind of familiar with editing. So I think there's either there's narrative value, but also kind of gut visceral value in just showing something happening to people, and and not manipulating with the tools with certain other tools of cinema. But yes, all those filmmakers, when you're making a thriller or kind of a mystery, you'd love to think it came somewhere near something like Hitchcock, because that's like the hallmark, and anything good So and then Kubrick, I mean, just gods of cinema, but also like guys like Antonioni, something like La Ventura, it's Knife in the Water, Polanski movie, but all of them, I watched like there's Awake in Fright, an Australian movie that's really, really good. I'm forgetting the filmmaker right now, but anyway, you're inspired by all that stuff just because you're inspired by the world. You're inspired by everything, and hopefully you're watching good stuff for sure. But then the movie, but trying to tell the story and make a movie that's super personal. Again, not in terms of belief, like in terms of playing yourself or anything like that, but just in kind of the themes and the things, the emotional perspective of it.
I was going to ask earlier as well before we went off down.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Paul.
Oh.
But I just wanted to say, because it was like one of the first things you asked me, and I feel like I keep talking about it but not saying, I like movies, and all the people that we've been talking about and many others that people love, kind of make movies where even if you make something in a certain genre, as it's known, anything can happen in the movie. Like, it's funny, it's it can be violent. It's emotional, like, emotionally poignant. It might be allegorical, always very personal, but kind of, life, like any good art, any good music, any good kind of painting, book certainly does kind of all these things because, that's the experience of the world, or our experience of the world. So that's what I'm always trying to do. And then kind of just telling yourself that at a certain point, like not trimming the edges off necessarily. I'm trying to present something beautiful, like aesthetically as beautiful as you can make it, but kind of in terms of warts and all, going there.
Yeah. Yeah, well, like you said, with all the different genres, there are several in this one, and I think possibly my favorite moment happens right towards the end, where, and trying to dance around this as much as possible, you have a wait a second moment. And yeah, I enjoyed the one bit right towards the end. It reminded me of American Psycho. That I thought it was kind of a fun shot.
Okay, so the shot with the
Yeah.
the shot with the the shot
Yes,
with
exactly.
the
So yeah, as I was gonna say a little earlier as well, I was wondering. You said you wrote the song for the film. Do you have a favorite song that you wrote, or one that means the most to you?
That's a good question. I mean, I try not to rank my own stuff and
Right.
or really other, like, art in general, but you kind of appreciate things about it and all that, and it moves you in certain way. But I don't mind lists and stuff like that at all, and I do like the question, because the one song "Heaven Is Real" is kind of explicitly autobiographical. It's about like my family tree, I guess.
Right.
So that one, and like my parents' story is in there a little bit. So that, I'd say that one definitely has the most personal meaning, and I'm always happy to have written it. And I think maybe writing that made me know that I could do the movie and the story, and kind of that all these songs were good enough.
Right.
Because that was pretty close to when I wrote the movie. But yeah, it's funny. They all call to mind very specific kind of times, and I think that's I wouldn't know well enough, but I imagine if you spoke to other people who write songs, that the process can be quick, of course.
Yeah.
Then you're just kind of playing it and learning it, but you write it pretty quickly. I mean, learning it, don't
Yeah.
generally have to. But so, but you kind of remember the emotion, the time, and how you felt, and like what was going on. So they've all got interesting ones in that way. But yeah, I think. But yeah, that would be an answer to your question. The Heaven Is Real one.
All right. Well,
How about you? Because I like them all. But how about you?
well, of course, I'm having trouble remembering which ones are specific, but I think the one that I just enjoyed listening to the most, and full disclosure, being partially deaf, I do have trouble actually hearing the words to a lot of songs in films, so I probably didn't catch all of the songs.
Oh, that's
so,
fine. God bless you. I'm sure that's its own beautiful way to listen. But I'm sorry for any difficulty that's caused you. Although
no,
you've done quite well.
It's fine. It basically just turned me into more of a visual person when it comes to film. But no, I still enjoy, especially
I think I mumble
tune.
too.
Yeah.
I've been accused of mumbling.
Me too. Yeah, that's something I do a fair amount in my day-to-day life. But yeah, I still enjoy the cadence to songs, and just where they might fit. And I think the song that I just enjoyed listening to the most would be the one where he's out on the balcony
Oh, cool.
before he sees the interlopers.
I'm glad you said that because I was gonna drop this little Easter egg, which you especially might appreciate. That song, "Change Your Ground," is in the movie Beach Pillows. I wrote that for the movie Beach Pillows. It plays in the bar scene where it's the civil rights song from the '60s. So, which I had recorded. Basically, I was going to use like "Change Is Going to Come" by Sam Cooke. I'd written that in the script, but of course I couldn't clear that, or like, Many Rivers to Cross, anything. I can't clear those songs, rightfully so, I'm sure. And so I ended up writing one and having this girl, Angie Correa, who goes by the name of Koreatown, sing it, and she was great. And they kind of reference it because Nick's like, here, Morgan, listen up. And, Morgan says, this is a civil rights song. We're two middle-class white kids from the suburbs or something. And so anyway, that's that song. And I thought it worked there. But it's funny. Yeah. And I'm really glad you liked it. And it's not the first time. It's, I guess, the first time you've heard me sing it, but it's not the first time you've heard it.
Yeah, well, maybe that's why I enjoyed it so much. There was something of the familiar about it.
Yeah.
But you were talking about your family tree song, and that brings me kind of neatly to my next question, which is, what was it like giving your dad direction on this film? He is in it.
Right. Well, it's not the first time I've done it because he was in this this Funny or Die short with me. Like one of the first things I put on the internet. I'd made a bunch of different short films, like longer things, and this was kind of during that time of like these online funny videos. Yeah. Everybody kind of, and which there's tons of great stuff out there. So anyway, I made a couple of Funny or Die videos, and he and I were in the first one, and which you can see online. It's called The Seriously Shitty Interview. Check it out. It's funny. He's great.
I will.
And so anyway, but this was a little different, but similar in some ways, frankly. But he's tough. He's tough to direct. It's an interesting dynamic. He's not tough in terms of he's a great actor, and I've got no worries there. That's why in addition to him being my father, actually, that's why he's in it, because he's like the best man for the job. Yeah. It just so happens that he's my dad. Maybe that's why I'm aware of him, but it's definitely he's not second choice. So anyway, he's just my crew actually said, and I'm very purposeful about being kind in life, and certainly cultivating just like a nice set. Right. So, but my crew was like, "You're being kind of mean to your dad," or somebody. This girl Joanna said it to me, who was our set designer and like all superstar kind of PA. And I think she said that, and I was just like, yeah, it's weird. I don't know. I mean, there's he's funny because he's a little bit stubborn, and I guess I am too, but you've gotta, he's like a wild stallion. You've gotta kind of rein him in a little bit. Yeah. But anyway, it's really fun to work with him, and what's so exciting to me is that I just think he's really great, and it's great to show him off, I guess.
Yeah, I just have this image in my head of you giving him direction for the scene, and him in his head just being like, I'm blank years older than you. Like, I think I know what's best.
I think, he's I have to kind of tell him how I want it, or if something's not going right. But it's usually nothing kind of in terms of the choices he's making are usually great because he studied acting growing up, and I think he's got some good craft. He tries to make it real, but just sometimes it's like where he's looking. I'm like, Dad, you're looking at the camera. Like, I think that's kind of would be my main thing. Just like, look at me, or just kind of look wherever you're gonna look, but not at the camera.
Yeah, not straight at the audience.
Yeah, not in this particular setup.
Yeah, it's not exactly Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back when you make a meta joke. It's like, yeah.
Right. We're not breaking the fourth wall.
Yeah, it remains firmly intact.
Although somebody, this girl, when I showed it in Manchester at Manchester Film Festival, which was great, in your home country, this girl Millicent Thomas, like a film journalist. Anyway, I think she writes for Screen Queens is the name of the site, and she was like, I thought it was kind of like, it reminded me of like Deadpool, how he's kind of has these asides, like I guess maybe because she was referencing the scene where I'm on the balcony, the one you were talking about, and I'm kind of having a small conversation with myself. But I thought that was obviously not something I thought of, but I always think it's great to hear people's different feedback.
Yeah, I can definitely see where she's coming from there, but I would probably argue then that she's not the type of person that does talk to himself when she's alone, because I know I do that a lot, where I'll just be by myself in the house and I go to do something and I'm telling myself that I'm doing this thing, and I'm I'll just do this later. Yes.
Right. I mean, it's something certainly I think people do, but no, it's funny. Well, that's the cool thing. That's why I love hearing what everybody thinks, and that's it's great hearing that people love it, of course.
Yeah.
Hearing anything positive is always great and appreciated, like, in the biggest way. But it's also really interesting to hear what people really think about all the things. It's more interesting. It's an exciting in a different way to hear just things that people think about, because then they're bringing inevitably themselves to it. And I think that's why I like film writing and criticism and stuff. Like I think there's just harmony to the perspectives that make art something that we all love, and the world something that can ultimately be a beautiful place to live in, because it's not war, just because you have different ideas. It's kind of it's what makes it cool. Everybody's got a different perspective. That's like the point. So no, I like that a lot. And that's
as long as it's constructive, because you obviously will get some people that just go,
please don't mean.
Yeah, some people will just go, oh, it's boring, and then that's it. It's like, what do you do with that? How would you fix it? How would you like it to not be boring? Then I could work with that. But
yeah, well, I mean, unfortunately, can't really work with that if the movie's done.
Yeah,
but,
no.
Maybe next time.
Exactly.
I think that's funny when people. Yeah, I mean, this is we're going off the rails a little bit here, but when people feel the need to just put a negative, not even just an opinion about what something means or their impression, or just like that just bad. Yeah, bad, boring. It's just funny. It's just funny. It's like, well, it's just very clearly not adding any good to anyone's life.
Yeah.
But I guess their argument is either did your boring movie that I wasted my time trying to watch. But anyway, it's fun. No, it's all good. Listen, if as far as anybody that's seen my stuff, especially like not just checked out. I don't know that there's a contingent of people who's just stopped watching Beach Pillows, for example. But I'm really appreciative of anybody watching the thing. That's so I love hearing it, and it's also, but I probably shouldn't even say this because like you love and need to hear like good feedback to keep doing it. Like I couldn't do that. Like I couldn't do it, and I wouldn't do it if it was just like, what is this? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It would be too much. Obviously, I have purpose, outside of people's opinions that calls me to do this, but it's not. But I'm making it so that people love it. That's the point. You know what I mean? So if that's not like happening in any way, that would be difficult to do. But you kind of realize that. So that's great, and that lets you keep making it. So that's like essential. But also you have to do it. You have to really love the doing of it. So the doing of it is like that feels really great. And then watching it with people and being like there. That's when I think. So not necessarily. And again, I love hearing it, but it's really fun to sit with people because that's like they're experiencing everything you experience. So when they watch it, like, communally, when you have opportunities to do this at like film festivals and stuff, it's pretty cool. They used to just scare me and give me stomach aches, like with Beach Pillows, even though I was super proud of it. Maybe I've just gotten used to it. Because I had to show movies and like the movies we made in college we had to show at the end of the semester or whatever. But I like it now. I guess I like sitting with people, and especially since this movie kind of has so many different feelings and turns, and kind of just feeling that happen in the audience is pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to move into a question that I asked you last time, and I would be interested to get the answer to this for this time as well, which is it's a two-part question, which was what was your best day of shooting the film, followed by what was the worst day of shooting the film?
Well, there's not that many to choose from because we shot pretty quick. But
I imagine.
But no, there's certainly. That's funny because worst day is always impossible because it's just like the last day was tough and kind of but it's so great because you wrap and everybody, it's this like ceremony celebration. But then you have to leave. The worst day is kind of when you just break up the party. Although I was going home to my family, so it was like the best day. So let me just put the worst day on the back burner. And the best day, I think, again, like I could just talk about that. So we shot where we lived where we shot in the house. Right. So there's kind of a short history to how we ended at that location, but whatever, we don't have to go there, but it ended up being great. It was actually not, it was something that I thought I had a location and we had to change it. And this place was a little bit bigger. Considerably bigger in terms of the space. I think the way we showed it, it's not necessarily even as big as it is. We didn't show, certain parts of the house or whatever, but and it wasn't that big, but it was, and again, the crew wasn't that big and the cast was small, but we stayed there. So, and just being able to do that, like that it's so fun. And Patrick, the sound mixer, like cooked every night. We'd get groceries. So you just kind of playing music, watching, playing records, watching movies, and kind of, kind of reflecting on the work or whatever. And so that was all so great. So that, what usually stinks is you've got a ton of location moves and you're just sitting in trucks. And we kind of like took that away and just could be really working the whole time. Yeah. So that it was, it was awesome. So, the toughest shot by a mile was the one, and I only did it once, where so he comes back, I knock him out, and I run and jump into the water and swim out to look for her at night. Yes. Yeah, this so we track along the dock from the parallel dock and pan 90 degrees, and I jump in the water and I go out however many feet and dive under, kind of dunk under to look for her 3 times and then swim back. And, I have asthma. I'm not like a strong swimmer anyway. And it was at night and it was cold. And we were actually kind of magic hour so we could, that's kind of when you want to get night stuff, if you can, especially if it's one shot, or not magic hour, like beyond, the sun's down, but you're just getting that glow, the glow. Yeah. And then you can bring it down and it's night or whatever, but you have more latitude and more contrast, and you can see more of the images. Yeah. But we really had a limited time to do it. And it's funny, when I come back on the dock there, I pick myself up, and then we have I don't even know if you tell or not, but we have I think you could if you look back, of course, but we have like a small cut, and then I kind of flop down into like this upside down thing, a shot, and I'm just kind of huffing it, just breathing there, and which was, real. But that ended up being a pickup immediately after, because when he tilted down, because I wanted the shot, no cuts, we're all the things I just described. And when I flop up and crawl up the dock, we tilt down directly overhead, and I'm in that shot that you ultimately see. But when we tilted down, there was a big shadow on me because the light was behind us. So it was like, how did we not prepare for this? So I was pretty upset because I was, felt like I was gonna die. But it was basically and then I had to see it, because always the DP is gonna be like, oh, can't use it, whatever. There's an issue, go again. Just for something technical. When I don't necessarily, there are shots in Casino where there's some shots that are supposed to be static, in some movies that there's bumps in the camera, but because the performance is right or whatever, they're in the movie, and it kind of gives it an interesting quality or energy. But so I'm not usually as worried about stuff that it might depend on the DP, but that Alex would consider an imperfection, because I would see it after. I'd be like, what are you talking about? Some, of course, most of the time I'm sure we'd see it and be like, yeah, that's an issue, whatever. Yeah. But, we're not necessarily looking for the same things. He's great, and I think we work beautifully together. I was lucky to have him, but I think that's just our jobs. But anyway, I was like, let me see it, because maybe it's fine. And you try not to run back every shot, especially when you're directing and acting. But you can look at the end of the day if you want. But anyway, ran it back, and we would run back a fair amount of stuff. And yes, it was couldn't use it the way I had hoped. So I was just like, let's just pick it up. I'll crawl into it, and it's an easy solution. So we cut there. So that was the most emotional, I think, thing. But another funny part of the production story is that the hot tub we like, or no, excuse me, hot tub. Of course, there's not a hot tub in the movie. No, but we were like that scene where I'm underwater at night at a certain point in the movie.
Yeah.
Won't reveal too much, but that was like, that's very difficult to shoot underwater and see anything, and especially in a lake. But at night, it's like, these things are impossible basically, and also a tough thing to shoot, and especially, you could have I don't want, yeah, you could have elements that make it difficult. So we were like punting that the whole shoot, and I had an idea that we could do it in this hot tub that was in the basement of the place and of the house, which I feel like, again, they don't know what we're talking about, and that might make an element of the movie less cool. So I think
I personally, I think it's great because watching that particular bit that we're talking about, I wouldn't have known at all.
Yeah. And that was so funny because Alexander Crow, the DP or my cinematographer, was he was like, that's not gonna work. We should. And I always kind of knew that it would. But there's a lot of things like this over the course of a movie. But we were always just like, we're gonna have to. It's here in the schedule, so we'll kind of. And we did some tests and figured out different ways to do it. It was the toughest part was laying down like that, underwater for any period of time, because the water just rushes up your nose. We got pretty creative there.
Yeah, no, it was
and it worked. You wouldn't just put it in the movie if it looked like crap. Like something funny is that in The Wolf of Wall Street, Scorsese was like, there's this part in the movie we have the seatbelt light going on the plane. So he's like, I want that shot, but they just didn't get it on the day, and you have to get you have to basically get a set, get crew to make this happen. They just didn't. And Scorsese was like, I need that. So I don't know if he was considering using stock footage or whatever, but he just told somebody on the crew or somebody he works with or somebody, just shoot it with your shoot it on the plane with your iPhone. And maybe it was even him, but they just put an iPhone shot in like a Scorsese film. So it's like you can, it's kind of a cool, at the end of the day, you have to do anything to make things work. It's really just about making it work for the audience. So it's kind of that French New Wave approach. It's like, he doesn't have to be French New Wave, but I think that's what's great about Scorsese. Even though he could get $100 million and Leonardo DiCaprio, he still just brings every idea and like a punk rock mindset to it. Just take what you have and be creative in ways that people haven't been, because they said, well, you can't do it that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I feel like after all that, like, I enjoy hearing like, oh, what was the worst day? Because I feel you don't hear that often, but it seems like overall you just had a fairly cool time doing this. I'm not even going to follow up with that one. I think we had a really good answer with some of the best aspects of shooting there. So I enjoy that. Although I do have one question that I wrote just because I'm curious, and it's simply that, do you happen to have any unusable takes of you in the wet white underwear? Because I feel like you must do.
That's great. I think we do. I cut it, and I went through all the footage. And yeah, there were some things. I tried to protect the audience from that horror. It's a horror movie, but not that level of horror. But no, we were mindful. We were generally mindful, and frankly, I wish I hadn't been mindful at all. I'll say, because I'm like,
Yeah.
you know what, just but
Just let your
obviously,
goose loose,
yeah, no, exactly. I'm not saying I'm eager to show it, but just you end up wearing shorts under the shorts, and there's one scene where I'm like, can you see them? And that kind of thing would bum me out. But nobody's mentioned it, so I'm sure I'm just focusing extra hard.
Yeah, because I saw the scene and obviously just continuing to go, and I was just like, like, on the day I'm sure you had a couple of takes where you finish it and then you go to look at it and you're just like, and I'm not using that one.
Yeah, I mean, there's geez, pretty much. Well, I think what you end up feeling is that hopefully, I think it's a good feeling to feel like, you know what, there was anything else would feel wrong. You know what I mean? Which,
Yeah.
not to make a testament on, the rest of the work was unusable and you're just kind of, but because everything that was planned ends up being in the movie. But yeah, there's something about getting the right one of everyone. That's a cool aspect of filmmaking that or what ends up being your preference or feeling like you feel tells the story the best or had the most emotion or whatever. Was of course nail the camera. Like, there's that camera move where it was a jib, but it's when I'm walking up after the scene with the cop and it reveals the boy upstairs. That was like an elaborate, difficult shot that we had to do just like 20 times to get it. And actually, I think it was 30 something. And it was this big gaffing job for the crew. Or I'm sorry, I believe I need to say grip. Anyway, they were pushing around a giant jib on a dolly and going back and forth. And we had this big setup to block the lights. But where was I going with that? I'll end it there.
I was going to say I'm not perfectly sure, to be honest. Okay, the only other question that I had, and feel free to just say all of them or whatever, but is there any scene in the finished cut of the film that you are most proud of? Either something that features you heavily, or just something that is the way it all came together. You enjoy watching it the most, and obviously it's your film, and it's kind of like saying, oh, which of your children do you prefer? Like, I'm sure, sure it's a difficult question, but it's any one thing that jumps out of you from this film.
I give me a second to think here, and you can cut out
That's fine.
some of the pause. Although I like a natural kind of flow to it. So you know what? I mean, just in terms of I'll try to think of an answer to that in the process of saying that it was really, I felt really grateful to be back in the saddle, having made Beach Pillows, experienced a lot,
Yeah.
enjoyed it so much, learned so much, kind of pushed it for what felt like so long, and to just kind of be getting back up there in like a very personal way, in a very physical way. It was just really fun. I think hopefully I always feel like, speaking for myself here, obviously,
Yeah.
that it's just always, I just feel so fortunate to be doing it, because the time between it, they're pretty significant, when you're just really doing exactly what you want to do, and a bunch of people are helping you do it. It just feels so great. And so when you see stuff in the movie that I see and I like. It feels, again, I like that it all feels purposeful to me. All of the elements together. So just honestly that it works for other people, is really exciting to me. And especially, no, you know what? Okay, I'll say this: the first 20 minutes, there's no dialogue. There's not a word. So I sang the song to kind of introduce the film after the opening titles, and that tracking shot across the water, and then I sing the song, I'm a man you don't meet every day, and there's just 20 minutes of different kind of things happening. You're not telling the audience what kind of movie it is. You're not telling the audience who this person is, what's happened before, why they're doing what they're doing. So just giving the audience that much, I guess, credit. There's a better way to say it, but just kind of not force feeding the audience and just like letting them collaborate, and then the cop shows up and the movie starts really moving. But so I always would talk about that in like Q&As or with people afterwards, and been like, thank you for sitting through that. I know it takes a second. And they're like, no, I love this. And they would all name different scenes from that first section of the movie. And I was like, oh, I'm so great. When you give people the benefit of the doubt and like, let them and collaborate and kind of bring themselves to it. And I don't want to say challenging, but it's just like, yeah, make it something good. That's not just, I don't know what the word is to describe art that is kind of that it doesn't push itself towards you and kind of make its impression completely. It kind of pulls you towards it, and it's more symbiotic. That's the stuff that I ultimately love and respond to. It doesn't tell you the way to feel about the characters. It kind of just shows you something very specific from a very specific perspective, and you end up bringing so much of yourself to it because it's not all about the thing, it's about, yeah. So that's it. That's what I like.
Well, that is a big problem, especially with blockbuster films or with a lot of Hollywood film being churned out now, is there's a lot of condescension towards the audience where it's just, we're going to tell you 90% of what we think you need to know, and then you can just enjoy the jokes when they come up.
That's exactly what it is. And it's almost like they show you all of that in the trailer.
They do. Yeah, that's something that we've gone into several times in this podcast, is that trailers now are just, you may as well not watch them at all because you're just going to get bits from all over the film spoiled. So it's the example that I always use actually was for the first Avengers. I think I only saw one or two trailers, but in one of the trailers they showed you Hulk catching Iron Man, and those that have seen Avengers know that is something that happens in the last 5 minutes, which means that one part of the Avengers where the question is Iron Man going to sacrifice himself? And everyone's like, oh no, he's doing that. I was going, well, he doesn't. I've seen it. It's in the trailer. He's going to fall and Hulk's going to catch him. And then he fell and Hulk caught him. So it was... and it's a lot of that now. It's almost as if they assume that American audiences will see the trailer and then a month later will go and see the film and they'll have completely forgotten the trailer. They won't remember a single thing about it. And fortunately for me, I can't do that. So
yeah, I'm in that camp. But yeah, I think it's because they spend a couple $100 million to make those movies and then another $500 million to market them. They can't be, or don't feel like they can leave anything to chance. So they're like, you've got to tell them exactly what it's going to be, and so they don't feel like they were tricked, and it creates this bad like buzz, word of whatever. And but also, honestly, I don't know. I think it's dumb. So I agree with you.
Yeah. Oh, no.
It's like it's not a novel opinion. It's
Well, no,
unfortunately my yeah. I mean, what's maybe even less novel but more pervasive is that you know art. Well, corporations kind of control the world, governments. So, you know, and when it ends up when they control art, it's like you really it's tough to call that art. You kind of have to get outside of that to get a perspective on it. Otherwise, you're just kind of in this machine and subject to all this kind of conditioning. Like it's to me, it's not art. But I think that's as hot a take as I can put forward. Not to say the people working on it aren't artists and all of this, and the source material is beautiful and inspiring stories and all of this. But I just think when it goes through this giant mechanism and has to service all of these specific commercial needs, it you kind of juice the what I would be looking for in a piece of work out of it.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree that there's a certain formula that works to make money, and that kind of stifles a lot of artistic creativity.
Yeah, and I think I think that it's because business they think this is how you make money, but you don't. A smarter businessman would say, I don't need $200 million to make a movie, and then I only have to market it with 400 million because I spent 200 million to make it. Like, if you can make it for 5 million and then market it for 20, you could potentially make as much money if it's something people have never seen before. If it's something undeniable that people have to flock to experience. So that it's, I think there are those things out there. Maybe it's tougher for them to cut through because it's, I think it's easier for people to make things and share them. But I think, that's great. That just kind of, it raises the bar in a sense because it requires the work to be that much stronger. But of course it's, there's a lot of, Van Gogh's work was pretty strong and he didn't reap the material rewards, but that's not the point, I guess.
Well, that's all right. It doesn't necessarily need to be a full point there. It's just the way you feel about it.
Yeah. No, I'm fine. I just and I don't mind saying how I feel, and I certainly wouldn't want to be mean, or I'm not trying to be mean to anyone. But yeah, I think most people kind of feel that way.
Well, yeah, and just before we wrap up here, I was going to say, I definitely think things are changing a little bit. And obviously, Deadpool, as an example, it's still a big studio film, but was made for a lot less money, and they took a lot more risks, and it really paid off. And I think that's going to start paying dividends in as much as other studios are going to agree to start taking risks and are going to let people make the films that you couldn't have made and released 5-10 years ago, because the studios would have thought, well, that's not what we do, or that the audience isn't going to get behind this. So
right. Yeah, I think it's no, I think you're right. I think it is nice when you see them hiring. Well, I don't know. There are different ways to look at it, but you've got kind of independent voices or filmmakers brought into those systems to give like character and signature to the work, and I think that is cool, and it's nice. It's better than certain alternatives for sure. I just think it's and I grew up. I love big studio movies and grew up loving them, loving Batman and Superman, all of it. But I think what was cool is those movies stood alongside like a bunch of different types of movies, and like adult movies, like just the movies. Again, these are not novel opinions or groundbreaking in any way, but the movies of the 70s and like movies for adults and like movies as art or movies as an auteur, somebody communicating a perspective on the world that was uniquely their own and uniquely of a time or of a feeling. And those movies are made, but it's just not. I think that's the thing. I think those movies are made. I think hopefully Covadonga is an example. It's just about like making people aware of them, and it's kind of culture is more segmented, of course, but I think it's fun when everybody can kind of experience things together too. I think that was one of the things we love about art and movies growing up. So yeah, and as the one making it, I just want to share it with as many people as possible because I feel strongly about it. But it's been good talking about it, Paul.
Yeah, no, I really hope that you do get to share it with a lot more people.
It will be available for all.
Yeah, all right, well, in that respect, wrapping up here, so why don't you let people know exactly where they can find it and where they can find you if they wish to talk to you about this.
Cool. Well, if you're interested in Covadonga, and I hope you are after sticking with us through this conversation, you can learn more about it, see it, buy the music from the movie, see reviews of the movie, supplements, all the music videos, the poster, different cool stuff at live performances at Covadonga.film. So on your computer, on your internet, on your phone, www.covadonga.film. And so you can see all that stuff now. The movie is available to watch on Halloween, on October 31st. So maybe, the 30th at midnight. And through Covadonga.film and Vimeo on demand, you can buy Covadonga and then watch it on your, Apple TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, Chromecast, AirPlay, Samsung Smart TV, all that stuff. Any smart situation, you can watch it. Or, frankly, it's funny. You send, of course, I've loved screening the movie in theaters with, audiences at festivals and stuff like that. And some of my favorite theaters in New York, like the Museum of the Moving Image, which was just like blew me away that I would ever get that opportunity. But you share the movie with people like yourself and critics or even festival programmers, whatever, on a computer or with these password protected Vimeo link, and it's like you hold the computer as close to yourself as you want. The resolution on this, like, it's a pretty good viewing experience. I mean, it doesn't bum me out the way it maybe used to, especially since I watch it so much. Like, I'll be thinking about something or wanting to reference something, or looking at the videos and watching it on my phone, and it's like it's an experience, whatever. And you're seeing the thing. It's like the screen is bigger if you hold it closer. So it does. I love I love cinema. I love the theater. But at the end of the day, cinema is moving pictures, and you watch it however you want. But yeah, you can watch it on TV. A flat screen setup, I would think, would be ideal.
Yes, I do wish I'd been able to get it through my TV, but
Right.
I do enjoy sometimes just sitting down with my laptop and just being, okay, what am I going to watch tonight? Right? And I'll put
Cool.
something
No,
on.
that is, I'm sure younger people kind of feel that way. And it's funny, I had even like, sometimes because I have two small young kids, and it's tough to watch a lot of the new movies. But like on a plane, they'll have some indie movies, and I remember watching and this was a couple of years ago, but the movie Calvary. It's an Irish movie, I think, with Brendan Gleeson, I think. on the plane, and I was like crying. It was amazing. So maybe previous to that, I was like, oh, it's a different experience. But I think we've just become so used to all different kind of screens that at the end of the day, you're just trying to. The movie's got to win out. It's not a screen isn't going to make the movie better. So
Yeah.
and I think if you make if you make it beautiful, it'll work. And whatever you want to watch Covadonga on, I will put I give you my word that it should be good enough that you're not upset that you bought it.
Yeah, no, I will second that. Yeah,
I'm gonna put that on the poster.
Yeah, you probably will be happy you bought this.
I hope you're not upset.
Yeah.
The director. Okay.
Yeah, and I would urge anyone listening to this to, at the very least, see your way clear to purchasing, if not the film, then some of the music, because the music is very good in this film. So.
Oh yeah, well, yeah, the Vimeo on demand, it's kind of like a streaming partnership or whatever, but they you could, like, I'm able to charge what I want for it, which is I decide what to charge for it, which is $7. So the movie's $7 to buy, $4 to rent, and you get, when you buy it for $7, you get the 7 songs from the film, 2 of which are original Irish folk songs. That's the one at the beginning and the end.
Nice.
And so, yeah, you send your kind of purchase receipt to music@Covadonga.film. You get those songs, and or you could buy the songs for $1 a piece at Covadonga.film, but you can stream everything, all these songs at Covadonga.film for free, and watch the music videos for 5 of them there. And it's all on YouTube. So anyway, I'm on Twitter at Beach Pillows. But Covadonga.film has all my handles at the bottom, so I definitely want to emphasize Covadonga.film for anybody who's listening. And yeah, I'm just excited to release it in this way, because again, it was a different kind of movie. I kind of made it in a different way, and I'm really excited for the opportunity to carry that spirit through distribution, and kind of control it and make it available alongside the music and all these things. So I'm excited about it. I'm glad that this is it's possible to do it this way now, and it should be fun.
Yeah, it's really cool. So please, everyone listening, do go check that out once it's out, and everyone, definitely worth your $7. So honestly worth that. And
yes, see it and come let me know what you think.
Yes, please do. And if you want to let me know what you guys thought about this, then you can get hold of us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Blokebusters. You can email us, theblokes@blokebusters.com, or you can check out our website, blokebusters.com, or you can go to podbros.com and check out us there, as well as every other fine podcast that's there. And one last time, thank you very much for coming back on. It's been a blast having you again.
Thank you, Paul. I've really enjoyed it. All the best to you and yours.
Well, thank you, and the same to you. And with all that being said, I've been Paul, and he's been Sean, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
When you've seen what life can offer and it didn't look too good, and the dark of night surrounds you like you always knew it would, and you cry and think it's over 'cause nobody seems to care. Just think you may not have no money, but you've still got all your hair. Well, they said it was a picnic, but your basket's empty now, and you want so bad to fill it. If only someone showed you how. When those boots kick through your doorway and they leave your cabinets bare, just think you may not have no money, but you still got all your hair.